Over the past few years, the world's cancel culture have been thrown around a lot, and people have feelings about it. For the Patrick Stars of the audience, who clearly live under a rock, the cancel culture is the popular practice of withdrawing support or canceling public figures after and companies after they have done something or said something considerably objective or offensive. Generally, this is discussed as being performed on social media in a form of group shaming. And as social media begins to ingrain itself even further in our culture, cancel culture has had a lot bigger impact on our lives. Some time to talk about cancel culture, why it exists, and whether or not we should cancel culture altogether. So let's get to it. First off, and I'll toss this to you first, Jake. Why does cancel culture exist?
I mean, I can't really pin down why. And I thought about it for a long time trying to figure out, for this whole discussion this week. But why it exists, I think is because, well, one, I think we all like to simultaneously hate on shit together. And so I think it's one of those things where somebody's like, yo, Nickelback sucks. And then everybody's like, yo, fuck Nickelback. I hate Nickelback. Then everybody, but then that same thing transitions to hey, did you know so-and-so is a piece of garbage? And then everybody's like, oh, dude, that guy's a piece of shit. Let's not buy his stuff anymore, And so I think it exists because we all kind of it's an empathetic thing to kind of want to cancel things together. We, it's group thought, if you will. Yeah. And so I think that's why it exists, right? Right. And so that's pretty much what I came to my philosophical conclusion was that, we just like to do shit together as a squad. Humans, we're social creatures.
Exactly. What do you think, Braun? Why do you think cancel culture exists?
I think that, I agree. And that there's power in that mass group movement. And you can see that you can affect so much change by all doing this together, sort of. So you have power. And I think that it comes into play. It's been coming into play throughout society. It's not a new concept. If you can look back and see people boycotting things throughout history. Yeah. So I think that's part of cancel culture, that we're not going to support you, and that's going to cut off your means of having of doing X, so that we're not supporting it. Now that there's internet, you can do that on a whole different scale, and you can do that in a way that maybe that's smearing someone's name or going far in that way. There's just unlimited possibilities of canceling people. It spreads like wildfire too.
Yeah. And you're 100% right. I think that social media has been a big catalyst for it because, I think beforehand, cancel culture was just boycotting. Technically, the Montgomery bus company was one of the first people to be a part of cancel culture, in essence, and that was good. There was a good reason for that, and that leads me to my next thing: is cancel culture a good thing or a bad thing? Bronwyn, let's toss it to you first.
So I think it's a good thing in the sense that you should be holding people or corporations accountable. But I think that it can be a bad thing if things aren't grounded in facts and in research. If you just are going to listen to anything without thinking for yourself, I think that's really important. So it falls on either scale, but I think that we should have a voice and be able to use that voice, especially when things are not so great. When people are doing things that are really fucked up, cancel them. Fucking cancel them.
I agree 100%. I mean,
I agree too.
Yeah. And go ahead, Jake.
No, I was just going to say I agree. And I think that it's with most things, it's moderation, right? If everything gets canceled, it's it's the classic, oh, look, conservatives will say, look at liberals, they'll just cancel everything, so-and-so said something I don't like, And so, but, so if we do, if it's atrocious acts, yes, right? If it's just I don't like how they use that green or something, it's we have to there has to be a scale of and that's hard because we all kind of individually have our own ethics and morals, you know what I mean? And so I think that's why the whole group plays an aspect into it. But I think it's moderation, man. You gotta allow some people some stuff, right? But then other people hardcore got to draw hard lines,
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I think the people, especially the people we have pictured in our image below, are perfect examples of that. Like, I'm not fucking with Roseanne Barr anymore. I'm certainly not fucking with Kevin Spacey, and not even. I don't even feel good saying good things about Bill Cosby when he did do good things because of the shit that he did afterwards.
Dude, I was a Louis fan.
Yeah, you were a Louis fan. You're a big Louis fan.
Oh my god.
Huge Louis fan.
How did you take that?
I went and saw Louis for my 22nd birthday. That was like my gift that my girlfriend got me. We went and got tickets, went to, Athens and saw Louis. Loved his show, loved his stand-up. He was always one of my favorite stand-up comedians. And so it was one of those where it was so funny, bro. Because when we went and saw him in Athens, one of Jessica's, or my girlfriend's, her sister's friends was like, what if he's a piece of shit? And I was like, what do you mean? And I remember being kind of defensive because, I liked Louis a lot. We were going to go see his set that night. And I was like, what do you mean? He's a good person. He literally just refunded all these people because they were affected by a hurricane and couldn't come see his show. He literally sold all of his tickets direct to fans. He never went through any type of ticketing service. So you would buy Louis tickets for $20 a ticket, no matter where Louis was playing. Right. And so I was always like, he's a man of the people. What are you talking about? He's a great guy. And then literally a year or two later, it's Louis C.K. jerks off in front of women. And it's what the fuck, man? Yeah. I was like, oh my God, dude, Louis, no. And I know that guy doesn't remember that comment, but if he did, he was just sitting at home going, fucking called it. He was just sitting there called it, bro. Called it.
I know, right? Hands on. I feel like the Louis one was one of the big ones because that was one that when the allegation first came out, it really did sound like a bad Louis C.K. joke.
It did. Yeah.
So that was one thing. And then, which in hindsight makes a lot of those Louis C.K. jokes that if you go back and listen to them now, much more distasteful and much more piece of shit-esque. And, he was in the middle of filming shows about being a father and all this wholesome content. His show Louis itself had a lot of wholesome content throughout it. It
was a good show.
It was
really
a good show, but it definitely deserves to be canceled after hearing about the information that came out about it. I think hands down that's
by far
one of the perfect examples of those that needs to be that deserves the cancellation.
And people ask, because then the Aziz thing happened, right? Yeah. Where the story of Aziz came out and it really seemed from reading and everything that Aziz just pretty much was a shitty date. He was a really bad date. And so, but then, his career just kind of kept going. And so it's interesting. I think which is, I think we may get to it later, but it's just one of those things where I'm baffled by cancel culture and the fact that some people don't allow you to culture them or to cancel them. Like Chris Brown.
I know, right?
You know what I mean? Everybody's fuck Chris Brown. We're canceling Chris Brown, but then Chris Brown's still doing numbers and getting booked for shows and stuff.
Yeah.
And so
well, you hit on this a little bit earlier, but I wanted to talk about this. Is this just a liberal trope? Is this just liberals getting mad at things that they find offensive? Conservative nerds don't have this problem, right?
I mean, I feel like some conservatives have definitely canceled people. They canceled John McCain. They canceled.
Highly sarcastic answer of my.
They cancel the liberals.
Yeah. That's true. And then they've canceled Nike, Gillette. They've canceled Keurigs at one point. Do you remember that time when they were fucking throwing their Keurigs out?
Throwing their Keurigs out. Yeah. Colin Kaepernick got canceled pretty hard.
Yeah, that's definitely, it was on the conservative side. So this is not. So my point of the facetious question is that this is clearly something that goes on both sides. Right.
I think it's anybody who has a defensible kind of what they would I don't want to say it's defensible, but what they would consider to be a defensible kind of stance on something. Mm-hmm. Right. And so and you're going to get those on any side. Does not matter. Right. Either side's canceling somebody. It doesn't have a political spectrum on cancel culture. Conservatives will definitely say things and that's also the whole snowflake trope. Right. Where they're liberals are snowflakes getting upset about everything. It's aren't you? You're literally being a snowflake about snowflakes.
Yeah. For real. And I mean, you're also, trying to throw Gillette razors down the toilet.
Yeah.
So because they said be a better man. And like to me, I mean, the Gillette commercial is a great example of that, because if any guy looks at that and gets like, oh, this is offensive, they're telling me I have to be better. Yeah, they fucking should. You should be told to do better all the fucking time. Unless you think you're fucking perfect, then you don't deserve a shot to be told that you're doing better. And if that shit like that offends you, it's because you have a weak fucking ego, and not because, Gillette said anything that's legitimately offensive.
Exactly. Nah, most of it comes from just having weak egos.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, with that said, is cancel culture always right? Is there anyone that you think of that has been unfairly canceled? Bron, we'll start with you.
So I think that the word cancel in itself, it just kind of makes you think it's done, it's completely over. And so that, I feel like, in a sense, just is disappointing on a societal level, thinking that people can't like revive. I mean, there's some things that, I mean, some of these people, they're inexcusable, but I think that there should be some sort of a chance for redemption. Yeah. Or maybe not, maybe a cancel is just the wrong word. Just,
yeah, maybe you should try a different career path or something.
Yeah.
What do
or
you think,
people maybe making up for it in a certain way. Like maybe they should still be canceled in the sense of like taken out of the limelight or not idolized or glorified to an extent, but instead of punishing people, maybe give people a chance to be better towards society and to build a better world. I think you don't do that by just turning your backs on people.
No, that's like, I have a lot of controversial ones. I have a lot of highly controversial ones. Like one that I think a lot of people don't expect from me, especially as like a dog owner and someone who loves animals. Mike Vick, bro.
Mike Vick, you feel he was unfairly canceled?
No, not unfairly canceled, but I feel like the fact that we still, like, after he did like 2 years in prison, basically was able to restart his career, paid back all of his debt, and has opened up more like humane societies than like almost any other like single person in the US, apparently. Like, there's a lot of like great things he's done for animals like since the whole dogfighting ring. And so that shit was terrible, right?
Right.
But then the dude went to prison. What's prison for? Like
rehabilitation.
Yeah, exactly. And so you go and you get rehabilitated. Like, and so like, I think if people go to prison, get out of prison, and then they can never just go back to their lives, like, yeah, like we should definitely hold it against them. And you can hate them for it all day long. But like at the end of the day, like I kind of like, I still like, I'm not mad at Mike Vick anymore. And people hate that. And when I tell people that, they get mad. And I'm like, dude, like I love dogs too, but like, the guy's done a lot of great things for the community now. Like he loves dogs apparently, and has done a lot of awesome shit for animals. And so like that's my controversial one. It's probably my most controversial one. Because like every time I tell people I don't still hate Mike Vick, they're just like, oh my God, you should hate Mike Vick. And I'm like, dude, he went to prison.
I feel like I'm close to that too, but you do make a good point. I mean, it's solid. He has been rehabilitated. I don't know if I'd ever trust him again. And I certainly don't think that someone like that should
I don't think
still be able to come back to a career. But
no. But he did. And he paid off all of his debt, which is something that a lot of people don't do. Like, he was able to pay off all that stuff. And then, like I said, he's done a lot of great work, for the animals. And like, there's a whole list. Like I sound like, cause he doesn't even really have a PR team, but he still does stuff every now and then. And he talks about like, he does a lot of like, speaking things and gives a lot of money to different communities to build like humane societies and everything. And so he does more for animals than most of the people who are telling you to hate Mike Vick.
Yeah, that's a fair argument.
And so but it is my most controversial. And then Kanye. I'm a Kanye fan. Kanye gets canceled every like 6 months. Like
well,
and so he won't be canceled.
We talked about this a little bit before, I think, when we did it, and I could kind of see your point there, because I think I know the track that you're going to go down. He's been having a lot of mental health issues ever since his mother died, and he's been reaching out to the public. And there is a sense of when it comes to Kanye, like it's kind of like we're watching somebody go through a mental health issue, and we're just sitting there watching it and not doing anything about it, and honestly fanning the flames a lot of times. I mean, you had more to say on it, but I didn't mean to jump the gun.
I mean, that's kind of like, that is my big thing with Kanye, is that like he's been pretty open about his mental health issues. And so like, but that also, it's another thing too. Like, I understand whenever people are like, no, what he said's inexcusable. It's the same thing that I feel with Mike Vick, is like, if you hate him and you still want to and think like what he did was inexcusable, that's your opinion also, right? And so like, it's like, you know, like I totally understand whenever people are like, no, Kanye has went way overboard. You know, I can never listen to his music. I can never support him again. I'm like, that's cool. You know, like, go ahead, like, that's fine. That's your opinion. Mine is that, like, you know, I'm a fan. The dude's been through a lot of shit. We all go through it. He just happens to go through it on a scale where millions of people have like access to who he is, what he says, and care about his tweets. You know, like if people were monitoring my tweets from like 2010 when I was going through like some mental breakdown shit, you know, like I mean, it's some crazy shit too. And so,
I mean, I've had some some posts that have come up on my Facebook from stuff, and I'm like, well, I am glad I grew from that perspective.
Dude, memories, because we grew up on the internet, you know what I mean? Like sometimes like I'll get a Facebook, you know, thing from whenever I was in high school, and I go, dude, I fucking hate that guy.
Yeah.
Whoever, you know, like high school Jake was a piece of shit. He needs to be canceled. And so I cancel him all the time by deleting those posts.
Yeah. I get you. I get you. Well, I think that's a great. I mean, first off, I think there's some people that one of the biggest examples of someone I think that was unfairly canceled. And he
that was the
survived.
question.
He survived the questioning, right? The canceling was Jason Momoa, and Jason Momoa got in big trouble. I don't know if you guys remember this. He got in big trouble from a Comic-Con panel where he said that, you know, he gets to play Khal Drogo, or you get to do all these things, and you get to go out and murder people and rape beautiful women and all this stuff, and it's great. And he was just kind of going off the cuff, right? And he was talking about being a savage and all that kind of thing. But the comment, obviously, the way he phrased it, drew immediate backlash.
Yeah.
And he walked it back 1,000 times. Like, I would never encourage that kind of thing. I was talking about Khal Drogo, the character. That is not something that I'm for. And we've seen how, you know, Jason Momoa's career has gone since. He definitely survived the canceling. But that was one of the times where I was sitting there thinking, yes, he needs to be more careful with his phrasing, but people were talking about boycotting Aquaman and doing all that kind of stuff. And I was like, this kind of severity should be reserved for situations that are much more volatile, when, you know, are much more important. You know, when you have people that are going out there harassing other people, you know, for no good reason at all, those are the people that shouldn't have their careers because of it. The people that are using their careers as a platform, like Louis C.K. was, in order to advance their own sexual desires, that should be canceled.
Yeah.
But someone making a bad comment, I think that does go down the route that you were talking with, Bronwyn, where there needs to kind of be a path to redemption.
And it's like, it's crazy to think that that somebody who either, like, you know, like I said, a Chris Brown, that like was actually like a physical abuser, or somebody like Louis C.K., who is like a manipulator, you know, and had all this other stuff going on, can be put on the same level as somebody like Anthony Jeselnik, who made a joke about like the Boston bombing and then had like his whole career kind of like put on pause for a little bit. And it was just because like, dude, I kind of get it, like, in a way, but then in other ways I didn't. You know, like, that was another one that, you know, the guy got, I don't think he was wrongfully canceled, but I do kind of teeter on it a bit, because like he made a joke on the day of the Boston bombing, which I understand. It's what is it? A tragedy plus time equals comedy, right? It's not just tragedy comedy. Like, that's not. It does not work that way. That.
There's an important reason.
Like, he missed the pivotal. Like, you know, there's a formula, right? It's tragedy, time, comedy. That's how you get it, right? And so like, he made a joke on the day of. And so, but I remember actually enjoying the Jeselnik Offensive was his show on Comedy Central. I remember enjoying it, and I remember he got canceled within 24 hours. Another one, Gilbert Gottfried. A lot of people don't realize this. Gilbert Gottfried was the Aflac duck, right? You know, Aflac, everything.
And he's also the parrot from Aladdin.
Yes, exactly. He got canceled for making a joke about the Japan tsunami. And a fairly recent after it happened. Yeah. And that's Affleck dropped him, everything like that. And so I don't know, man. Like, it's kind of like, it's one of those where, like, I definitely see why some men are canceled, or some people are canceled in general, right? Mm-hmm. But then other people, it's kind of like, dude, educate them. You know, they made a bad joke, educate them. Like, get them kind of like, you know, and give them the chance to kind of come out and be like, yo, that was a bad joke. I've now learned from it. Here's why it's a bad joke. Tell people, use their platform to like tell people why that was a bad joke. Right. Don't just cancel them, you know?
I think I have to agree with you for the most part there. But I think
some things are completely distasteful, I guess. Yeah. I don't want to make it sound like
like there's a level of acceptance there. I get you.
But there's levels of this shit.
Yeah. there's definitely levels. Well, with that said, should cancel culture be encouraged or discouraged? We'll start with you.
Yeah. So I think it should just exist. I think if it's encouraged, then problems like the Jason Momoa stuff happens where it's like you're trying to pinpoint like any little thing. I don't think it should be encouraged because that's just silencing people and not bringing things to surface. I was actually involved in someone getting canceled or like connected to that. When I was younger, I dated this musician and he was a lot older than me. I was of legal age and our relationship kind of like simmered out. But this past year, it came to light that he was basically manipulating and sleeping with underage women. So people even younger than me. And I'm like, yes, he should be canceled because he's using his position of power to like lure in his fans who are 17 and to sleep with them, and not just sleep with them, but form these really complex, really controlling relationships where he's like grooming them into the women that he thinks they should be. And these were all things that I witnessed. I know how he was treating me, but I was 21. Yeah. So I wouldn't really listen to a lot of it. I pushed back. If I was in that same situation when I was a lot younger, then I might have been more susceptible to it. Yeah. So I think in situations like that, it's good that he has like stepped down from his career. He'll no longer be releasing music. He's no longer going to be performing. And in that situation, I do think that it's a place in which cancel culture existing is a great thing. Yeah.
I do lean actually more on the side of cancel culture, and I know that seems a bit odd because of, especially how we phrase the entire top 10. But I'm actually I'm for it for the most part. In a lot of circumstances, I think cancel culture has taken out the right people. The three people we have on the screen right there definitely deserve to be canceled, and there's not really much debate on whether or not and for those that are listening to us, that's Roseanne Barr and Kevin Spacey and what's his name now? Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby. Yeah. See, that's what happens with cancel culture. You get
who are they?
Who are
you get erased?
Roseanne Barr has always been a conservative mouthpiece, and she finally let that out with her famous tweet about Michelle Obama. And honestly, fuck her racist ass. She shouldn't have a career.
And then blamed it on Ambien, of all things.
Blamed it on Ambien.
I've taken Ambien. It's not that bad. It doesn't make you racist.
Yeah, it doesn't make you a midnight racist. That's Ambien. I can certify that Ambien does not make you a midnight racist.
Yeah, I can confirm. Yeah. It'll make you see some trippy shit, but it doesn't make you a racist.
Yeah, exactly. I think that those are great examples of things. I do think there's some that go too far, but I think the ones that go too far are usually kind of easy to see. And the ones that haven't gone far enough aren't. Like, I fucking forgot about Chris Brown, and I forgot the fact that he's still out there making shows right now, and he should not be. I mean, with the shit that he did to Rihanna alone, he should be out of the industry completely. And we know that that Rihanna wasn't even the first one that he did it to. So like, if that's the case, if we're in a situation where situations like Jason Momoa are usually seen pretty frequently, I mean, even Aziz Ansari, that was a situation where some women were like, hey, no, this is really creepy what he's been doing. And yes, he was persistent, but I knew guys in college that did the exact same thing. It just like they were the people that text first, and they always text, and they would text. That kind of stuff, if you're not doing like actual harassing, sending them pictures or making threats or anything like that, you're just being, kind of oblivious to what women are how women are feeling towards you. That could be something that offers a path to redemption. I actually watched his first stand-up special after that, and he addresses it immediately. like right as on the first part of the show.
He started it with it, yeah. Which I think he knew he had to, you know.
I think that he had to as well. And to be honest, you know, seeing that he had a new special on there was the reason I looked at it. You know, after everything, I wanted to see what his first response was afterwards. And so I think there are people that can handle cancel culture correctly, and I think that there's people that don't, and those people typically deserve to be canceled, in my personal opinion.
Like, there's a reason they can't handle it, and there's a reason why the person who's handling with grace are actually like empathetic and able to feel that sense of remorse and grow and learn from it. That's the difference.
Exactly.
100%. And now, I don't know. I'm kind of leaning. I'm with you, like on the whole. Like I don't know about encouraged or discouraged. I kind of like what Bronwyn said. I kind of love what you said about just kind of letting it exist. You know what I mean? Because I do like kind of like I like that it's here. Like because there's all kinds of people that are always like cancel culture shouldn't exist or like you know, and act like it's modern. But kind of like we brought up even earlier, it's not a new thing. The internet's just helped kind of like you know elevate it, right? And so like I'm glad it's like here. But then, you know, there's a lot of like, we should go back in time and cancel people. I know in chat, you know, like someone said David Bowie, the whole world needs to cancel David Bowie. And that's an interesting one too, because like I have this conversation with Jessica, you know, my friend or my girlfriend all the time about how like Elvis Presley, you know, like there's tons of people who like, if there was a time machine and somebody was just going around going, you're canceled. Like, dude, I don't think we would have any musicians left, you know, like there wouldn't be many. And so,
I mean, I think I don't know about that. I think that we have enough good musicians out there.
There are some, but you got to think about their time period.
Shitholes.
From the 50s and 60s, dude, a lot of them were growing up in a weird time, man, where like they could do some weird shit.
Yeah, that's true. They
could publicly get away with like harassing women, dating like 14-year-olds, like you know. Like Elvis Presley had like women, like young women. Like I mean, I'm pretty sure he married like his cousin that was like underage or some crazy shit.
Yeah. Ugh. Well,
so I mean, Bob Weir,
and that's the king of rock and roll.
Yeah.